So you're interested in Warhammer 40,000. You've checked out the models, maybe seen a bit of the rules or how it's played, and want to know how to get started. Warhammer is a vast and daunting hobby that offers limitless opportunities for creativity and camaraderie, but it's a lot. It can be very overwhelming to get started, and so you're probably wondering, where do I go first? In this video, we'll be taking you through all the steps necessary to get building, painting, and playing your first Warhammer 40,000 army. Join us as we follow both Lindsay and Melanie, two new 40k players, as they start brand new armies for the newest edition of the game. Through them, we'll be learning a few different approaches to the hobby, and we'll be following along their Warhammer journey in order to help you begin yours.
Hey everyone, I'm Melanie, or Doc Mel, and I am playing the Space Wolves! Oh!
Hi, my name is Lindsay. I am starting with the bugs, the Tyranids.
So I have two full armies in AOS. I have Edeneth and Sylvaneth, and now this is my first full 40k army, my first dabble of Space Marines.
I've started a few armies, but only have gotten so far. So these Tyranids are the first army that I've gotten to a point where I can actually play them fully painted on the table, which is very exciting for me.
The first thing you need to do, of course, is decide on what army you want to play. Having been doing this for a number of years, I can tell you that the rules are temporary, but cool models are forever.
I've always just kind of gravitated towards the Tyranids because I just love the bugs. I love how they're bugs. They seem very different from all the other factions in Warhammer 40k.
I am someone who picks based off of lore and feel and how the models look, and so it was always going to be Space Wolves.
They're just little guys, you know? They're just little guys. They're doing their own buggy thing.
I love the model line, the characters, as you can see.
The Space Marines are doing their Space Marines things. You know, the demons are doing their demons things. The Tyranids, they're just doing bug things. And that's what I like about the Tyranids.
I also love the people that play Space Wolves, right? If any of my Space Wolf family out there is watching, we're loyalists through and through.
So after determining your faction, the next question is, where do you get started? Well, in 10th edition, we have the new concept of combat patrols. These are standalone box sets for each army that include a starting selection of models. Beyond saving you some money, they also come with streamlined and simplified rules for the units inside. What this means is that while the fundamental rules of the game will be the same, you can start playing with a trimmed down version of your army to make for faster, easier games in your early days. Now, in the case of Lindsay and Melanie, they have the added benefit of having picked the marquee armies for 10th edition, the Space Marines and the Tyranids. They have a few more options available for them, including the Ultimate Starter Collection. This box has added savings and includes the start collecting sets for both Space Marines and Tyranids, along with some terrain and extra accessories, so it's a fantastic purchase to split with your friend. One of the unique aspects of Warhammer, and indeed most tabletop and wargaming miniature games, is the fact that you build, assemble, and paint the models yourself. At first, this can seem daunting and provides a whole new set of skills to learn.
I have a love-hate relationship with building models.
I enjoy building models, but it has to be in the right context. It has to be in the right situation.
Do I try to push it off onto Adrian a lot? Yes, but I would really like to get better at it because I think once you know how to build, you can kit bash, and that's what I really want to do. So I'm trying to get myself to build more models.
I have to kind of be in a mood to build, pretty much where I have a space of time where I'm like waiting for something, or I don't have to give too much attention to anything else. And then I'll put on like a movie or play some music or something and just sit there and build.
One thing I love about the new boxes for Space Marines and Tyranids is that they're extremely easy to put together. You can absolutely cut them up and modify them if you're an experienced hobbyist, but they're also easy to build for someone like Mel that hates building kits.
I think that was something really good about the Space Marine models that I built, is I think they were much easier to build than some of the previous models I had been trying to build in the past.
Now I'm jumping the gun a little bit. How do you put these models together at all? Well, let's see how these two approach it.
The tools I use to build models are definitely glue and Instacure. I have no patience, so I need the Instacure to be able to put the models together quickly. I have Instacured many bits to my fingers. So the next thing I need is Band-Aids, lots of Band-Aids, especially when you're cutting mold lines, try to be as careful as possible. So you always want a good X-Acto knife.
I keep it simple for building my models. I usually just use some some clippers and an X-Acto knife and glue. I just use super glue.
I have a cutting board that I leave everything on and lots of little boxes and bins so I can keep all the parts and everything together.
For my clippers, I use some old Citadel clippers that I got from a starter kit years ago that are very, very dull. Don't come at me. They're very dull though. I should really get some new clippers.
That and like a good TV show is definitely something you need while you build.
I just clean everything up with an X-Acto knife. I have a really sharp X-Acto knife.
So my cutting board, and what I recommend is you can actually get a lot of good.
And then super glue. Just use regular super glue.
I got my cutting board from IKEA. They have really great cheap cutting boards that you can just get a big set of. We have a bunch lying around the house. We kind of use them as little micro movement trays, and then I just throw paint on it.
As you're hobbying, you'll likely develop preferences of your own, but hopefully this is useful for those of you just getting started. Building your army can be a time-consuming process, and everyone approaches it a bit differently.
So the way that I make it easy to pick up a project and come back to it multiple times is I've made things very accessible. I put it in one area. I also have a little carrying case, a Citadel carrying case that I can carry with me. I could put everything I need, all the paint. If it's just a model, I could put a model in there. I could put my paint palette in there, anything I need in this little Citadel case, and carry it with me wherever I need.
Something that I do to make it easier to work on my models, and I think something that makes the Combat Patrol box really good, is I try to have a very small project I'm working on, a small amount of models that live on my cutting board with all the paints I need that can just be moved from my shelf to my desk to the coffee table, something that's really easy to grab and go.
Okay, now that we have the models built, it's time to start thinking about painting. Most models you buy will come in a plastic, a resin, or metal that needs to be primed before you can affix paint to it. Otherwise, it'll easily scrape off at the slightest touch. There are a couple of ways to do this, the first of which is to buy primer cans of spray paint. This can be a contentious topic even amongst the most veteran hobbyists. The Games Workshop spray cans are fantastic, and if you want to get a nice base coat on your models, they can do that while providing a primer base coat. The only downside I would say is that they are quite pricey. You can pick up cheaper rattle cans at your local hardware store, but I would recommend caution as they can tend to splatter and spray on thick, covering essential details on your beautiful models. Now in the case of Lindsay and Melanie, they both use the Vallejo primer. The only difference is that Melanie applies it by airbrush, while Lindsay applies it by brush.
A little bit about my paint process. I am an airbrush user. I love the airbrush. I love getting a good base and a gradient. I paint a lot of my stuff in Turbo Dork, and so I use that with the airbrush to give it that nice metallic look.
My paint process is all brushwork. I really like using brushes. I like the kind of details that I can add with brushes. So like, once again, I could get something very natural looking with a paintbrush, and I can create those like marks and variations that are just more random. That is where I really enjoy in my I really enjoy putting into my color schemes.
To keep things simple as you get started, you could pick up the Games Workshop Citadel brushes. I do highly recommend the synthetic ones. I personally have recently transitioned to Monument Hobbies paintbrushes, which are fantastic, and again, I recommend the synthetic ones. Now for airbrushes, I do love the classic Iwata Eclipse, which is a great starter airbrush. There are lots of amazing air paints, including Vallejo's Game Air, which are a great way to get started. Of course, we'll have links down below to recommended paints, airbrushes, brushes, and all the rest. Once your models are painted, you'll want to add texture and color to their bases. There are a ton of ways of going about this, but we here at the studio love using AK's basing materials as they're cheap, high quality, and easy solutions to the problem. Simply grab an old brush or scraper and apply the material to your model's base. Some of these materials come pre-colorized, while others you'll want to paint over to a color of your choice. You can also purchase various rocks and tufts of grass from people like Gamer's Grass to apply to your bases for that extra flavor. And if you want to take your bases to the next level, well, you can follow in Melanie's footsteps with these amazing printable add-ons from Epic Basing.
My favorite part of the hobby process is I am in love with making bases. I love printing different types of terrain and creating the environment and how it juxtaposes with the model.
Okay, so you've got your army, you're ready to play with your friend, but what does a board look like? And how do you get started? Terrain can be a massive, daunting process on its own. While it's a great part of the hobby, it's a bit much for your first go-round. Ultimately, this was one of the biggest reasons we here at Tabletop Titans created Titan's Terrain. With a single box, you'll have enough terrain not only for your first combat patrols, but will be prepared to graduate to full-scale battles with the same set. Obviously, there could be some bias here, but I genuinely think this is the easiest way to get playing beautiful games of Warhammer with your friends and family. There's no assembly or painting required, and it packs up nice and tiny in the space of a normal board game. In the case of Melanie and Lindsay, they've grabbed our newest upcoming box, The Forgotten Furnace, and are going to play their first game together with a randomly selected mission from the main rulebook.
2. I'm away. Oh, I got 6.
After rolling off who deploys first, they'll be battling over 5 objectives, and they begin deploying their forces 1 unit at a time, alternating. And here we witness the first Lindsay-Melanie roll-off for the first turn.
Okay. 6. Oh! 4.
So you're going first.
Oh, well, that's how that roll goes now.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly going first, Melanie moves quickly into position, advancing her Infernus Marines onto a point. This also isn't tournament play, so she is able to deep strike her Terminators turn 1 to devastating effect into Lindsay's poor Von Ryan's Leapers. In return, Lindsay swarms the field as fast as she can while slowing Melanie's Terminators down with spike shots from her Barbgons. In the following turn, Melanie continues to put pressure on the Tyranids, although she loses half her objectives to a well-timed Shadow in the Warp from the Tyranids. Can you be a bridger?
Can I be a bridger? I am a bridger. I believe I'm inside in my hearts of hearts. I'm a bridger.
9-inch charge.
Oh.
Oh no!
Buddies, pass battle shock.
Out of synapse range. Can they do it? Looking for an 8? Huh?
No!
Oh no!
No!
They're shook.
No!
Many historic rolls were made here as the two battled for contention of the objectives back and forth. Of course, as a combat patrol, they are able to use the simplified unit rules provided on their physical army cards. While they aren't always completely up to date, the physical cards you can buy for your army do make games much easier when you're learning the stats.
I am strength 5. You ever seen plastic melt? They can't come back now.
They can.
They can't.
What?
So, Deadly Demise, 1. I roll if I get a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah! If I get a 6, I do 1 damage.
Oh no!
Bye, buddy.
Well
Good
done.
game, yeah.
We definitely played you played Adrian, you played for the points. And I played for the bloodshed. And it went about as expected.
Right.
Yeah.
Alright, so first combat patrol, got the armies together. What are your thoughts?
I am looking to try different unit combinations, different things. Like, I got a taste of what the Combat Patrol has to offer. What do the other units in Tyranids, what other bugs are there that I can have fun with?
A little bit of the semi, but we all know I started playing Space Wolves not to play Space Marines, but to play wolves. And there are no wolves on the table. I want my Thunder Cav on the table. I want Thunder Cav versus your monsters. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And there you have it, folks. From concept to game, these two have officially begun their Warhammer 40k journey. And so can you. We'll be seeing Lindsay and Melanie on stream soon as they continue in their 40k adventures. We've got links for everything you need down below, and let us know in the comments what army you are starting on or wanting to start in this game that we all love.